Notice anything different? Actually, here's the interesting thing. I've been doing the LinkedIn videos now for almost a year. It'll be a year in July. And you may notice, oh my God, he cut his hair. This is actually how my hair usually is, but I had COVID hair last year. But here's the thing. Now that things are opening up a bit, and I'm actually here in Orlando at the end of a great marketing conference aimed at IT folks, so we have the opportunity to actually do things again out in public, as long as we're doing it safely and appropriately and all that kind of fun stuff. And I want to tell you how I turned my hair into a great marketing event. And this will take a little bit of time, but most importantly, all it took was really a little bit of imagination. Now, as I mentioned, I'm actually here at what's called a Technology Marketing Toolkit Bootcamp, which is run by a person who does marketing for managed service providers such as my own company. And what happened was I was invited to take part in a panel discussion that was talking about cybersecurity and also co-managed IT services, which is one of the big components that we do. And I was asked to do this with partner DATTO, who's one of the best vendors and partners in the business. And I went up and I was ready to get my hair cut anyway. But the day before, I spoke to Rob Ray, who's the guy who runs the partner program over at DATTO, good guy, and absolutely gets the idea of marketing and ways to do things. And I told him, I said, I got this great idea, but I don't know if we can put it together by tomorrow. And he said, well, what is it? And I explained it to him. And he said, oh no, we can do that. So here's what happened. We had about an hour event. Up on stage, a couple hundred people in the audience. And first they were going to talk about cybersecurity with their 2 people or their 3 people total. And then they were going to ask me to come out and talk about co-managed IT. We switched it a little bit. And instead what happened was we all came out on stage, and then Rob, who was moderating the event, looked at me and said, obviously this was all planned, I thought you were going to clean up your act. What happened? And I go, hey, I didn't have time. And he then looks out in the audience and says, is there a hairdresser in the audience? And of course there was one, because we planted her. She said yes, waved her scissors or shears or whatever. They then put me over to the corner. You'll see some pictures of this. And while they were doing the panel, meaning it was going on as normal, the valuable content was being discussed, all of that, this young lady was over to the side cutting my hair. All right? The people who wanted to pay attention to the content paid attention to the content. The people who wanted to have a little bit of entertainment watched me, and a little bit of folks went back and forth. All right, but the content stayed on target. That's critical. Then what happened was, at the time that I was supposed to be done, or supposed to come over and talk, he then called for me to come over. Now, at that point, the haircut was half done by design. We had told the young lady, who was absolutely fantastic, by the way, to only focus on one side of my head and cut it to this length, but leave the other fully alone, which obviously then is going to look just weird. So I have to come over, I take my seat next to the other 2 folks, and we launch into the topic. We never stopped presenting content and value. We just gave a little, it's the only time I'm ever going to talk about myself this way, a little eye candy in terms of that entertainment. And the whole thing went off without a hitch. Now, here's the thing. The presentation was absolutely spot on. The presentation did exactly what we wanted to do. And we only had 2 moments of jokes taking us off script. One was when I came out and it turned into a, let's give this guy a haircut, ha ha ha, boom, cybersecurity. And the next, you come over here and talk about the part you're supposed to talk about. Hey, but my haircut's not done, too bad. Launch into the topic, move forward. Everything else was done absolutely straight. The only cost to do this outside of the presentation itself was to pay the young lady, who earned every freaking penny, to come over and cut my hair. That was the only additional expense in terms of this type of event. Now, over the next several days, this was the first day of the conference, the next 3 days, I was constantly hit up by people who wanted to know whether that was a plant, and they knew it was, or what happened, or hey, how's your hair feel, or head feel, or whatever. I said, I'm lightheaded, ha ha ha. But we then talked about the topic. So whenever you're looking at a marketing event, whenever you're looking at some way different of messaging, don't automatically look at spending tons of money. Find something to do that will actually tweak it, at something that people will go, I wasn't expecting that, and then go right back to message. In other words, if we would have said the whole time and made hair jokes or talked about the hair or the haircut or whatever, we would have completely, it would have been a bad joke told over and over and over and over and over again. But instead, by essentially measuring and managing the content so that there were 2 jokes, and occasionally I'll look back, or I make a comment about something being unfinished, whatever. Everything else stayed on target, stayed on message. So always, always, always look for those opportunities to just tweak marketing a little bit. And if it works, terrific. You're going to have something that people are going to talk about for days, weeks, months afterwards. And if it doesn't work, it's okay because you still stayed on message. Most importantly, I got a free haircut. Not bad, huh? So, what do you think? Not about the hair, but the whole message? Comments below.